The road that led Adam and Clara into the highlands curled endlessly, like a serpent made of asphalt and dust. It was their first trip together after marriage, a quiet escape from the noise, the messages, the endless responsibilities waiting back home. They wanted nothing more than peace. They wanted the kind of silence where two newlyweds could hear only each other's laughter and the soft rustle of nature. But the hills had their own plans. The morning sun fell softly across Clara's face as she leaned against the window, her hair dancing in the wind, slipping through the half-open glass. "It feels like we're driving into another world," she whispered, smiling. "Like the hills are breathing." Adam laughed gently. "You and your imagination." But he couldn't deny it. Something did feel different. The air felt heavy yet oddly alive. The trees, tall and ancient, leaned in as though listening to the tires spinning over gravel. The road narrowed as they entered the deeper part of the hillside, where sunlight filtered through the trees like scattered gold. Clara took a deep breath. "Do you feel that?" "Feel what?" Adam asked. "Like the air changed the moment we crossed that old bridge back there." Adam didn't answer, because the truth was he felt it too. A shift, a quiet tension, like stepping into someone else's memories. But he kept driving. They were alone on the road, no other vehicles in sight, just a winding path and the towering hills. And then it happened. Clara stiffened, eyes narrowing at the side mirror. "Adam!" "What?" "There's someone standing behind us." Adam glanced quickly into the rearview mirror. A man, tall, motionless, wearing a long, dark coat, despite the morning warmth. He stood at the bend they had just passed, facing them directly, his posture too still to be natural, too silent to be safe. But the strangest part was, they hadn't seen him walk there. They hadn't seen him emerge from anywhere. He was just there. Adam frowned. "Must be a hiker." "No hiker dresses like that," Clara murmured. Her voice carried the unease that had been slowly growing inside her since they entered the hills. "Adam, he's staring at us." He looked again. Yes, staring, straight into the mirror, as if he could see Adam's eyes through the reflection. And then the fog shifted around him, and he vanished. Not walked away, not slipped behind a tree, not turned, just gone. Adam blinked hard. "He's gone." Clara was pale. "Adam, can we please keep driving? Just keep going." He didn't need convincing. He pressed the accelerator, and the car surged forward. The trees blurred past, but Clara kept looking back, her breath fast, her fingers gripping her seatbelt tightly. "Maybe it's just a local trying to scare tourists," Adam said, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. But Clara shook her head. "No, no one disappears like that." The rest of the drive felt heavier. The wind whispered strangely. The sun dimmed as though clouds were gathering behind the hills, waiting for them. When they finally reached the wooden cottage they'd rented, Clara exhaled in relief. It stood quietly at the edge of a slope overlooking miles of forest. Small, cozy, and perfectly isolated. Normally, that isolation would have felt romantic. But after what they saw, the silence seemed too deep, the stillness too watchful. Adam carried the bags inside, while Clara explored the small living room. Hardwood floors creaked under her feet. A faint smell of pine lingered in the air. Something glittered on the floor near the doorway. "Adam," she called softly, "did you drop anything?" He stepped over. "Drop what?" Clara knelt and picked up a small object. It was cold, smooth, wet. A stone. Not just any stone. A small white pebble shaped eerily like an eye. A perfect oval with a slight indentation in the center, like a staring iris. And it was wet, as though pulled from a river only seconds ago. Adam frowned. It must have been inside the cottage already. But Clara's voice trembled. "Then why is it wet? And why shaped like this?" Adam didn't answer. He couldn't. The hills seemed to lean closer to the cottage as a breeze swept through the trees. The whispering leaves sounded almost like someone murmuring. The feeling of being watched from the road crept back into both of them. Clara set the pebble on the table. "Adam, do you think it's connected to the man we saw?" Adam avoided her eyes. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe this cottage is old and... The window shutters slammed shut suddenly, making them both jump. No wind had blown. No storm approached. Yet the shutters closed as though someone or something had pushed them. Clara stepped closer to Adam. This place... Adam, are we sure we want to stay? He swallowed hard, then forced a reassuring smile. We'll be fine. Maybe we just need rest. Let's unpack, eat something, and take a walk. Clear our heads. Tomorrow, we can visit the Cascade the caretaker mentioned. But even he didn't believe his own words fully. A strange energy pulsed through the cottage, through the hills, through the very air around them. And as the sun dipped behind the horizon, the shadows around the cottage stretched a little longer than they should have. The hills were watching, and this was only the beginning. Morning light spilled gently through the thin curtains of the cottage, warming the wooden floorboards and pushing away some of the night's unease. Adam woke first, his body stiff from restless sleep. Every creak of the cottage had kept him alert. Every whisper of wind a reminder of the man they'd seen on the road. Clara stirred beside him. "Is it morning already?" she murmured, rubbing her eyes. "Yeah," Adam said softly. "You okay?" She nodded, but her eyes drifted toward the table near the door. The pebble shaped like an I still lay there. Neither of them wanted to touch it. "Let's go to the Cascade," Clara said suddenly, as though speaking the thought before she could change her mind. Fresh air, something beautiful, something normal. Adam managed a faint smile. "Yeah, let's go." The path to the Cascade wound through tall cedar trees, sunlight streaming through the gaps like falling ribbons. The forest was surprisingly quiet. No bird song, no rustle of small animals fleeing through the underbrush, no buzzing insects, only the soft crunch of their footsteps. "It's like the forest is waiting," Clara whispered. "Waiting for what?" Adam asked, though the uneasiness in his chest already knew the answer. Waiting for them. After 20 minutes of walking, they heard it, the deep, steady roar of water, the Cascade. They hurried forward, and the forest suddenly opened into a breathtaking scene, a veil of crystal-clear water pouring down from a rocky cliff into a wide natural pool. Mist drifted through the air, catching the sunlight and turning it into shimmering halos. "It's beautiful," Clara said, her voice almost a sigh. And it was. The water looked untouched, ancient, sacred, the kind of place nature protected. Without thinking too much, the couple slipped off their shoes and stepped closer to the pool. Clara dipped her toes in, squealing softly at the cold. Adam laughed and splashed her gently, and for a moment, just a moment, the tension melted. They waded into the water, letting the Cascade wash over their shoulders. The coldness bit their skin, but felt strangely refreshing. Clara lifted her face toward the falling water, letting it stream across her hair. "This feels like a different world," she breathed. Adam nodded. "A peaceful one. But peace never lasts long in places that hold secrets." Clara suddenly stiffened. "Adam?" He turned. "Yeah." Her eyes widened, staring past his shoulder. Slowly, carefully, Adam turned to follow her gaze. A man stood near the tree line. The same man from the road. The long coat, the rigid posture, the stillness that felt unnatural. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't even seem to breathe. He just stared at them. Cold washed through Adam's veins. "Clara," he whispered, "don't react. Just move slowly." They began edging toward the shore of the pool, water dripping off their skin. Their breaths came short and fast. As soon as they reached the grass, Clara snatched the towels they had brought, wrapping herself quickly as Adam grabbed his own. The man lifted his head slightly, just an inch. Then he took a single step forward. Clara's voice trembled. "Adam! Adam, he's coming." But before Adam could respond, the man vanished, just like on the road. 1 second there, the next gone. No movement, no sound, no footprints. Only the faintest echo remained in the forest air, something like a whisper carried by the breeze. But it wasn't wind. It was a voice. Adam and Clara froze as the whisper grew louder. "Leave, before the hills remember you." Clara stumbled back. No, I'm not imagining that, right? Adam, you heard it?" He nodded slowly, his face pale. We need to go. Now. They grabbed their things and hurried back down the path, but the forest felt different on their way out. The trees were darker, the air colder. The sound of the cascade grew distant too quickly, swallowed by an eerie silence. Halfway down the trail, Clara whispered, "Adam, look at the ground." He did. Water. A thin trail of droplets on the dirt path. Not from them. Those drops were too spaced out, too deliberate, forming a line that stretched deep into the trees, as though something or someone had walked ahead of them, dripping water with each slow step. Adam stepped back instinctively. "Let's move." They hurried, but the forest didn't feel like it let them leave. Every rustle felt like footsteps. Every shadow felt like an eye watching. When they finally reached the cottage clearing, Clara stopped abruptly. "Adam!" There, on their wooden porch, lay another stone. Wet, smooth, glinting. But this one was not shaped like an eye. It was shaped like a human hand. Small enough to hold, heavy enough to feel real. Adam didn't pick it up. Neither did Clara. They simply stared at it, frozen. The wind stirred softly around them. And then a faint voice, so soft it could have been the rustle of leaves, whispered. He watches the water. Clara grabbed Adam's arm. "Let's go inside." "Please." Inside the cottage, Adam locked the door. Not that a lock mattered in a place where a man could appear and vanish like smoke. Clara's voice was small. "What does he want from us?" Adam didn't answer. He didn't know. But he did know one thing. Whatever this place was, whatever lived in these hills, it was watching them. And it seemed patient, waiting. The cascade had given them a message. They just didn't know how to understand it yet. The cottage felt colder the moment Adam shut the door. Not because of the weather, but because the second stone, shaped like a small human hand, was still outside on the wooden porch. Neither of them dared pick it up, as though touching it would invite something closer. Clara stood near the window, hugging her arms. Adam, what if he's not human? Adam didn't want to answer that. He didn't want to accept the possibility. But the way the man vanished near the cascade, without sound, without footsteps, is something no human could do. "We just need to understand what he wants," Adam whispered, though his voice wasn't steady. "Maybe he's trying to warn us. Maybe he's not dangerous." Clara looked at him sharply. He whispered at the cascade. "Stones shaped like eyes and hands keep appearing." "Adam!" "That's not a warning. That's a sign." He exhaled, rubbing his temples. "We should go back to the caretaker's hut tomorrow. He might know who this man is." Clara nodded, but her gaze didn't leave the window. The forest loomed outside, dark and still, watching. The next morning, the sky hung heavy with fog. A thick, pale mist clung to the trees like ghostly thread. Adam tightened his jacket, and Clara clutched her scarf as they set off toward the caretaker's small cabin, a 15-minute walk into the forest. But the forest had changed. It didn't feel like a place where birds lived or where sunlight filtered naturally. The silence was wrong, heavy, unnatural, like the forest was holding its breath. "Adam, something's different today," Clara murmured, scanning the trees. He nodded. "Let's just move quickly." But they didn't get far. Halfway through the trail, Clara froze and grabbed Adam's arm so tightly it hurt. "Adam, look." To their left stood a massive ancient tree, taller than the rest, its bark dark and cracked with age. But the cracks weren't natural. Something had been carved onto the trunk. Adam stepped closer. Clara stayed a few steps behind, too frightened to approach. The carvings were rough, deep, and unsettling. Words scratched into the bark like someone with shaking hands, or no human tools, had etched a message. "He watches the water. He waits for those who don't listen." Clara's breath hitched. "Adam," the whisper at the cascade. He said something like that. Adam reached out, tracing the carved letters gently. His fingers trembled. The bark was wet, not with dew, but with something thicker. "We need to leave," Clara whispered. But Adam wasn't listening. Something else caught his eye. A piece of fabric caught on one of the lower branches, fluttering slightly in the mist. He plucked it free and held it up. It was black, thick, a torn scrap of cloth. Clara's voice cracked. "Adam, that's his coat." Adam didn't respond. The The weight of the truth pressed against his chest like a heavy stone. The man, or whatever he was, had been here. Recently. He stared at the carved warnings, his mind racing. Why is he following us? What does he want from us? Clara stepped closer, her voice trembling. Adam, let's go back. Please. I don't want to stay here. He nodded slowly. Yeah, let's go. But as they turned to leave, something shifted behind them. A faint rustling sound, barely audible. Leaves moving, branches whispering. Adam tightened his grip on Clara's hand. Don't look back, he said quietly. But Clara already had. Her eyes widened. Adam, the fog moved. And it had. The fog thickened behind them, curling like fingers reaching slowly toward their backs. It wasn't natural, not wind-driven. It gathered too deliberately, too intelligently. Adam pulled her. Run. They ran down the trail, their footsteps pounding against the forest floor. The fog drifted after them, shifting as if steering itself, not forward, but sideways, closing the path behind them. It pushed them forward, guiding them, or trapping them. The trail bent sharply ahead, and Clara stumbled to a halt. Adam, look at the ground. The dirt path was etched with something new. Not writing, not footprints, but a pattern drawn into the soil. Circles, lines, symbols they couldn't understand. But at the center of the strange drawing lay a stone. Smooth, wet, cold-looking. Adam's throat tightened. This stone was shaped like a mouth. Clara whispered, "Eye, hand, now mouth. What is happening here?" As Adam slowly bent to examine the symbols, the forest fell completely silent. Then, a voice, not loud, not human, not even speaking words. More like an echo of something ancient, a whisper that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. What walks in daylight but owns the night? Clara gasped. Adam, that's a riddle. He stood slowly. A warning? A threat? I don't know. But the forest answered with another whisper, sharper this time, like leaves scraping over stone. Answer or be followed. Clara's voice broke. We have to leave this place. Adam grabbed her hand. We're going back to the cottage. Now. They ran, following the thinning path until the trees began to open and the clearing came into view. The cottage looked the same. Quiet. Still. Too still. As they stepped up on the porch, Adam froze. The door, which he had locked tightly, was cracked open. Clara's voice trembled. Adam, we locked it. You locked it. He nodded slowly. Someone or something had been inside, and as they pushed the door open carefully, Adam spotted something lying on the floor just inside the entryway. Another stone, this one shaped like an ear. Clara stepped back, horrified. Adam, he's leaving us a warning. But why? What does he want? Adam swallowed, staring at the stones. Eye, hand, mouth, ear, pieces of something, or someone. And then he understood something chilling. He's giving us senses, Adam whispered. Eyes to see, ears to hear, hands to reach, a mouth to speak. Clara whispered, but why? Adam looked at the open door. Because something in these hills wants us to listen. The moment Adam shut the door again, the cottage fell into a suffocating silence. The newly placed stone, shaped like an ear, rested on the floor, glistening faintly as though still dripping with water. Clara backed away from it, as if it might suddenly move. Adam, this is not random, she whispered. Someone or something is putting these here for us. Adam didn't answer. He picked up the stone with trembling fingers, turning it slowly in his hand. It felt colder than the others. Not just cold, unnaturally cold. The kind of cold that didn't belong in daylight. Clara hugged herself, her eyes darting to the windows. We shouldn't stay here tonight. Adam nodded slowly. No, but the fog, the forest, the paths are already changing. He wasn't wrong. The forest had felt alive earlier, moving, guiding, reacting. Leaving now might lead them straight into whatever was watching them. Clara sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. Why us? Why now? Adam sat beside her, placing a gentle hand on her back. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. We'll wait for sunrise and then head for the caretaker. We'll ask for help. Clara nodded. Even though the sun was still high, the idea of waiting until morning felt impossible. They tried to distract themselves, cooking, cleaning, talking, but every sound in the cottage felt like a warning. A creak in the wall sounded like footsteps. A gust of wind sounded like a whisper. Their nerves stretched thinner with each passing second. Then Adam suddenly stiffened. "Clara," he whispered, "look outside." She turned. The sunlight outside had dimmed into a strange bluish hue. As she moved closer, goosebumps prickled her arms. "It looks different," she murmured. Adam checked the time on his phone. 3:08 p.m. He stared in confusion. This can't be right. Clara swallowed. It looks like evening. But it wasn't evening. It wasn't even close. The sky darkened rapidly, as if the sun were sinking unnaturally fast behind invisible clouds. The shadows of the trees stretched long across the ground. "I don't like this," Clara whispered. "Adam, something is wrong with the time here." He pulled her close. "We're staying inside. Whatever is happening, we wait it out." But the hills had other plans. The room grew steadily darker, forcing Adam to turn on the dim lantern that hung in the kitchen. Even its light felt weak, as though the darkness outside drank it in. Clara stood tensely by the window. "Adam, the fog again." He approached. The fog wasn't drifting lazily like normal mist. It was collecting, swirling around the cottage like a slow, tightening spiral. The trees disappeared behind a curtain of white. Adam stepped back, quietly locking each window. Then, thud, Clara jumped. "What was that?" Adam held her hand. "Stay behind me." Thud, thud, thud. The sound came from the front door. Slow, heavy, rhythmic, not knocking, more like counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, Clara whispered. "Adam, it's counting toward something." The knocking continued until 13th thud echoed through the cabin, low and deliberate. Then silence. Complete, terrifying silence. Adam approached the door cautiously, his breath shallow. "Who's there?" he called, his voice barely above a whisper. A moment later, a faint, distorted voice replied. "The one you met in the water." Clara's blood ran cold. "Adam, don't open it." But Adam felt pulled, as if some invisible thread tugged him closer. He placed his hand on the knob. The moment he turned it, the door swung open on its own. The porch was empty. No man, no fog, no footprints. Only a small stone sat directly on the wooden plank, this one shaped like a nose. Clara gasped. "Another one! Adam, he's leaving us a whole face." Adam stepped back inside with the stone, his mind racing. A face. He'd given them an eye, a mouth, a hand, an ear, and now a nose. What is he trying to tell us? Clara whispered, but Adam's reply was interrupted by a sudden sound from the back of the cottage. A soft scraping sound. Metal against wood. Dragging. Slow. Too slow. Clara's voice quivered. "Adam, something's inside." He took a deep breath, grabbed a lantern, and moved cautiously toward the back room. Clara followed closely behind. The cottage felt stretched, longer than it was in the morning. The hallway seemed darker, narrower, alive with shadows. As Adam turned the corner into the back room, the lantern's light flickered violently. The scraping stopped. Adam lifted the lantern higher. Nothing, just the old dresser and their bags. Clara exhaled shakily. Maybe it was the window shutters again. Maybe. A whisper cut through her voice. Low. Close. Beside Adam's ear. "Listen." Adam dropped the lantern. It clattered loudly, the flame flickering out and plunging the room into near darkness. Clara's scream tore through the silence as she grabbed his arm. "Adam!" A pale shape flickered in the corner of the room. Just for a second, a shadow, a silhouette, tall, still, watching. The same coat, the same face, except it wasn't a face. Not fully, not yet. And then, gone, vanished into the dark. Adam fumbled with the lantern, lighting it again with shaky hands. The flame steadied, revealing nothing but emptiness. But Clara was shaking violently. He was here, Adam. He was inside. He's not just watching us. He's getting closer. Adam held her, his voice trembling. We survived the night. That's all. We survived the night. But the darkness outside the window was no longer night-like. It was absolute, the kind of dark that doesn't belong to the world of the living. And the hills whispered, "You were warned." Adam froze. Clara's breath caught. Neither dared to turn around, yet both felt it, the presence behind them, watching. The fire crackled weakly, its light flickering like it too had become afraid. The forest, which had earlier hummed with night insects, had fallen completely silent, as if every living creature was holding its breath, waiting. Finally, Clara whispered, "Adam, please look. I can't." Adam swallowed, feeling his throat tighten. He turned, slowly, and then nothing. No man, no shadow, only empty air and the black trees swaying like tired giants. But Adam knew what he saw, a human silhouette, unmoving, watching them. "I know he was here," he muttered. "I'm not imagining it. You saw him too." Clara didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to the ground behind them. A set of footprints stood clearly in the soft earth, leading toward their tent. But the strange part? They only led toward the tent. None returned. Clara whispered, "Where did he go?" Adam stepped carefully toward the prints. He leaned down, touching the edges of one footprint. Still warm, still fresh. "Adam," Clara whispered shakily. "He was standing right next to our tent. And then he vanished. How can someone disappear without leaving?" Adam didn't know. His chest tightened. The air felt colder, heavier, as if the mountain had inhaled and forgotten to exhale. "We should stay awake," Clara said, clutching her blanket. "Let's not go inside. Not until daylight." Adam nodded. "I'll keep the fire alive." But the fire didn't want to stay alive. Every 5 minutes it shrank, dimmed, weakened, almost unnaturally fast. Adam fed it more wood. Nothing. It sputtered like a dying breath. Clara watched, fear widening her eyes. Why is it fading so fast? Adam didn't answer. His mind was racing. The Cascade, the mysterious man, the footprints that appeared but didn't return. Something was wrong with this mountain. Something deeply wrong. Then a sound. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Whispering. Soft. Faint. Coming from the darkness. Clara grabbed Adam's arm tightly. "Do you hear that?" The whisper faded the moment they acknowledged it. Adam stood. "Stay behind me." He took a flashlight and directed the beam toward the trees. Nothing. He moved it left. Nothing. Then, right. And there he saw it. Not a man. Not an animal. But something far more terrifying in its simplicity. A face reflected between the trees. Pale. Expressionless. Only eyes visible. Watching. Motionless. Clara bit her lip to stop herself from screaming. Adam's hand trembled. The flashlight flickered. Once. Twice. Then darkness swallowed them whole. Clara clung to Adam. "Turn it back on, Adam. Turn it back on." "I'm trying," he whispered. The flashlight sputtered weakly, then glowed again. But the face was gone. In its place, the small object lay on the ground. A stone, perfectly round, perfectly smooth, and glowing faintly with a bluish tint. Adam approached cautiously. "What is that?" Clara shook her head. "Don't touch it." But he had already picked it up. The second it touched Adam's palm, the mountain wind roared violently as if protesting. The trees swayed madly. Their tent almost tipped. Clara screamed, "Adam, drop it." But Adam couldn't. The stone pulsed, once, twice, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. A strange whisper echoed directly inside his mind. Find the path that was never walked. Adam staggered backward. The wind stopped instantly, as if someone had turned off the entire world. Clara ran to him. "Adam, what happened?" He opened his mouth to answer. But then they both heard footsteps slowly circling them, deliberate, slow, dragging. One complete circle. Then another. Clara pressed her face into Adam's shoulder. Please tell me that's an animal. No, Adam whispered. Animals don't walk in perfect circles. Then the footsteps stopped. Silence. Total, suffocating silence. Adam raised the stone again. It had changed. The faint blue glow grew brighter. Symbols began forming across its surface. Symbols Adam had never seen, except the riddle on the warning board, he whispered. That symbol in the corner. The same shape. Clara stared at him. Adam, what if this stone belongs to that man? What if he dropped it on purpose? What if he... She stopped. Her breath froze, because she saw something behind Adam. Standing, watching, unmoving, a silhouette, tall, still, closer than before. Adam, she whispered, voice hollow, don't turn around. Adam's heart pounded violently. His breath caught, but he turned. He turned slowly, and the figure vanished again. Clara collapsed to her knees. Why does he keep disappearing? What does he want? Adam didn't answer. His fingers tightened around the glowing stone. The wind whispered again through the trees. Soft, almost like a voice, almost like words, almost like a warning. Adam whispered, I think he wants us to follow something. Clara stared at him. Or he wants to lead us somewhere we can't return from. Adam didn't deny it, because deep in the distance, deeper into mountain, the stone suddenly glowed brighter, pointing like a compass toward a dark path they hadn't noticed before. A narrow trail, unmarked, hidden, leading deeper into the unknown. The stone pulsed again. Clara grabbed Adam's arm. Please don't say we're going there. Adam swallowed. We have no other choice. He wants us to see something. The mountain wind stopped entirely. Total silence, as if the world itself waited for their next step. They stepped toward the hidden path, and the moment their feet touched it, the fire behind them extinguished itself. A whisper echoed around them. Walk the forgotten path, or be forgotten, and the trail ahead plunged into darkness. The moment Adam and Clara stepped onto the hidden trail, the world behind them fell into an unnatural silence. Not the silence of night, not the silence of still air. A deep, unsettling silence, the kind that felt placed, as if something had deliberately wiped out all sound so nothing could warn them or save them. Clara's fingers dug into Adam's arm. Adam, we can turn back. Please. This path wasn't here before. Adam looked at the glowing stone in his palm. It pulsed, softly, steadily, like a heartbeat guiding him. No, he whispered. It was always here. We just weren't meant to see it before. Clara trembled. How do you know that? Adam hesitated. Because the stone was warm. Too warm. As if something alive had once held it. As if something alive still pulsed inside it. He didn't know how to say that without frightening her more. Let's move together, he said instead. Slowly. The narrow path entered a thick corridor of towering pine trees. Their branches stretched inward, forming an archway like a tunnel. Only the faint glow of the stone gave them light. Clara whispered, Adam, look. On one of the trees, a symbol was carved. The same symbol from the stone. The one from the old wooden warning board near the waterfall. And below it, scratch words. He was here. Clara stepped back sharply. No. Adam, someone wrote this recently. The wood is fresh. Adam brushed his thumb over the carving. The cuts were indeed fresh, not more than a day old, and the carved words ended halfway, as if the writer had been interrupted, or stopped, or taken. We keep moving, Adam whispered, forcing his breath steady. They continued deeper. As they walked, the stone's glow increased. The trees grew denser, their trunks twisting in unnatural angles. The wind began to hum, not blowing, not rustling, humming like distant, broken notes of melody. Clara clutched Adam's sleeve. Why does it sound like music? Adam didn't know. He didn't want to know. But the sound grew clearer the deeper they went. A slow, rhythmic humming. Human, but wrong. Too low, too hollow, too empty. And then the path split into two. Left, right, The stone flickered as if confused. Clara whispered, "Which way?" But before Adam could answer, a voice whispered from their left. Not loud, not threatening. Calm, too calm. Turn back. Clara froze. Adam! Adam! Someone's there. Adam shined the stone toward the left path. Nothing. But then, a whisper from the right side. Come forward. Two voices, opposite directions, both invisible, both impossibly close. Clara shook her head violently. No, 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 I'm done. Adam, this is a trap. It's all a trap. Adam held her shoulders. Listen, the voice on the left said, turn back. Whoever, or whatever, spoke from the right wants us to go deeper. Clara's eyes filled with tears. So what do we do? Adam lifted the stone. It pulsed once, twice, then leaned in one direction, like a compass drawn to a magnet, toward the left. Left it is, he whispered. They took the left path. Immediately, the hum stopped. The wind died. Everything fell eerily still. Clara hesitated. Why did the harmless voice tell us to go back? What if it was trying to help us? Adam nodded. I think it was. But then the trees opened into a small clearing, and there, standing in the center, was a mysterious man. Still, tall, dark, his face hidden in shadows. Clara's breath collapsed. No, not him. Adam, please. Adam stepped forward defensively, holding the glowing stone tightly. Who are you? He demanded. The man didn't move, but the ground around them trembled. Birds burst from the trees, not flying, but scattering like they were fleeing something unseen. Clara backed against Adam. Adam, the ground. The earth beneath the man cracked in a thin line, then spread outward like a spiderweb, stopping right at their feet. The man tilted his head, almost studying them. Then he spoke. His voice was low, hollow, like wind passing through an empty cave. You are not the first. Clara felt her knees weaken. Adam forced his voice steady. Not the first what? The man slowly raised a hand, pointing behind them. They spun around and froze. Hanging from a tree was an old wooden sign, covered in moss. They wiped it clean. Warning, do not follow the forgotten path. Those who walk it never return. Clara gasped. This wasn't here when we came. The man's voice drifted again. The path shows itself only to the lost. Adam stepped closer. Why did you watch us? Why did you disappear? Why bring us here? The man slowly lowered his hand. To keep you alive? Clara's heart nearly burst. Then why scare us? Why follow us? The man stepped into the moonlight for the first time. His face was not monstrous, not evil, but hauntingly sad. Eyes hollow with decades of silence. Skin pale like someone who hadn't seen sunlight in years. He whispered, because I once failed to save another. Clara covered her mouth. Adam stood still. The man pointed to the glowing stone. The stone leads to truth. The truth leads to danger. And danger leads to disappearance. Adam swallowed. Disappear like vanish? The man nodded slowly. Like me? Clara trembled. You're saying you're not alive? The man didn't answer. Instead, the wind blew sharply, whipping their clothes. Then he stepped back into the shadows. Leave the stone. Leave this path. Leave this mountain, before it takes you too. Adam called out, Wait! What truth were you trying to show us? The man stopped, looked over his shoulder, and whispered, The path you walk is not the one you think. Then he vanished, not faded, not walked away, simply ceased to exist. The stone in Adam's hand burned hot. The wind roared. The trees shook violently. The clearing darkened. Clara screamed, Adam, throw it, throw it. Adam lifted his hand, and the stone split open like a cracking shell. A bright blue light burst out, and the forest around them shifted, as if rearranging itself, as if revealing something hidden, something massive, something ancient, and the ground beneath them began to shake, as if the mountain itself was waking up. The forest shook violently beneath Adam and Clara as the blue light erupted from the cracked stone. Trees groaned. The earth trembled. And for a terrifying moment, Clara thought the whole mountain would split open. "Adam!" she screamed, grabbing his arm as the light wrapped around them like a swirling vortex. Adam shielded her with his body. "Hold on, don't let go." Then, silence. Everything froze. The wind, the trembling. Even the air felt suspended, heavy and motionless. Slowly, the blinding blue glow faded, and the world around them changed. The clearing was gone. The trees had moved, shifted like pieces of a puzzle rearranged by unseen hands. They now stood at the edge of what looked like a forgotten settlement. Old cabins half buried in moss, broken lanterns hanging by rusted hooks, and decayed footprints fossilized into the earth. Clara whispered, voice trembling, "Adam, what is this?" Adam stepped forward cautiously. "A part of the mountain no one has seen in years. Decades, maybe." He moved toward the nearest cabin. The door hung loosely on one hinge. When he gently pushed it open, the hinge screeched painfully, echoing across the dead settlement. Inside, everything was exactly as if someone had left in a hurry. Plates on the table, clothes folded, a lantern left unlit. Clara entered behind him. Something on the table caught her eye. A journal, dusty, fragile, but strangely preserved. She opened it. The handwriting was messy, frantic. "The mountain is alive. It takes those who wander too deep. We tried to follow the signs. We tried to escape, but the path kept changing." Clara flipped to another page. "He warned us. We didn't listen. Now we're trapped. We don't know if he's still alive or simply a memory the mountain keeps." Clara's breath shivered. "Adam," this is about him. "That man." Adam nodded slowly. These people must have been the ones he tried to save. Clara turned another page. This one contained a list of names, all crossed out, and on the very bottom, written with shaky strokes. "If anyone finds this, leave the stone where it lies. The stone binds a mountain. Taking it wakes the forgotten." Clara's voice cracked. "Adam, we awakened something." Adam closed the journal. "Yes, and now we have to put back." But before they could move, a deep rumble rolled through the ground. The settlement shifted. The trees realigned. Cabins groaned as if something underground was pulling them apart. Clara grabbed Adam's hand. "The stone, take it back to where it cracked." They rushed out of the cabin. The air grew colder, thicker. The mountain wind howled like an ancient cry. The glow from the broken stone flickered in Adam's palm like a dying flame. Then the voice of the mysterious man echoed across the forest. "Return it, before you cannot return yourselves." Clara spun around, trying to find him. "Where are you? Help us." Only the echo responded. "Hurry!" The path they had walked on earlier began to appear again, but this time distorted, twisted, like a reflection in broken glass. Adam pulled Clara with him. "Follow the stone, it's pointing." The cracked stone vibrated, releasing thin streams of blue light that floated ahead like guiding sparks. They followed desperately. Branches whipped their clothes. The forest floor shifted under their feet. Shadows stretched unnaturally tall, shifting like figures trying to reach them. Clara cried out, "The mountain, it's closing." Adam gritted his teeth. Just a little further. Finally, the clearing appeared, the one where the man spoke to them. Only now it looked much older, much darker, as if centuries had passed in minutes. At its center, a stone pedestal stood half buried in moss. Adam understood instantly. That's where it belongs. They sprinted to the pedestal. The ground quaked violently as if trying to stop them. Clara nearly fell, but Adam caught her. Almost there. He placed the cracked stone onto the pedestal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a deep, resonating sound vibrated to the mountain, like a heartbeat returning after being silent for too long. The wind stopped. The trees froze. The trembling ceased. A wave of calm swept across the forest. Clara fell to her knees, breathing hard. "Is it over?" Adam looked around, and then they saw him. The mysterious man stood a few feet away, his form clearer than ever, as if the mountain no longer needed to hide him. His face had softened, his eyes no longer hollow, but almost peaceful. Adam stepped forward cautiously. "Are you free now?" The man nodded slowly. "I was trapped between living and gone. Bound by the stone I once failed to return. You brought it back. You ended what I could not." Clara wiped her tears. "Why us? Why show us all this?" The man looked at them for a long, heavy moment. Then he whispered, "Because the mountain tests those who forget the value of caution, of time, of choices." Adam swallowed hard. Were we going to disappear too? The man's gaze drifted toward the forest. All who ignore warnings eventually do. He stepped back, slowly fading. Clara called out, "Wait! What happens to this place now?" His voice grew faint, distant. "The mountain sleeps again. But remember, danger never hides from those who walk blindly." And just like that, he vanished. Not violently, not suddenly, but peacefully, like a memory finding rest. The forest brightened. Birds sang again. The normal world returned. Adam held Clara close. "We survived because we listened." Clara nodded against his chest. "And because we didn't walk deeper just to prove we were brave." They walked back toward their tent, exhausted but safe. As they reached the familiar campsite, Adam whispered, "Curiosity can open doors, but wisdom decides which ones should stay closed." Clara squeezed his hand, and the mountain stood silent behind them, no longer threatening, no longer mysterious, just watching, just remembering.